Modern neuroscience tells us that instead of writing down things we're thankful for in a journal, simply listening to and connecting with positive stories about people can better help shift our immune system into balance. It can help us move from a state of constant anxiety towards motivation. So 3 days a week, I'm sharing stories we can feel good about. Mondays, you'll hear a story from the past to be thankful for. On Wednesdays, I'll tell an inspiring story from the present. And Fridays, you'll head into the weekend with a story to keep you optimistic about our future. Hi, I'm Chris. Welcome to My Good 3. All right, happy Monday. With all the divisiveness that comes with a pending presidential election, I've been thinking about things that connect us, even when we have disagreements. What jumps to mind is spending time with people we care about, lamenting over twists and turns in a very loving, very adversarial game of Monopoly. I love the game because it's brought so much happiness to my family, especially on rainy weekend days, or months on lockdown during a pandemic. But before I gush over how much I appreciate it, it's worth exploring how the game came to be, because this is a story that is uniquely American. The game of Monopoly didn't just appear. It's actually a joint effort. In fact, the idea behind the game had been around for nearly 30 years before it even became the game of Monopoly. It was back in 1903 when a woman named Elizabeth, or Lizzie Magie, a political activist, writer, feminist, and daughter of an abolitionist who worked with Abraham Lincoln, who first patented the idea under the name the landlord's game. Lizzie believed strongly in the economic ideology of Georgism, named for the economist and social reformer Henry George. Georgists believed that individual or corporate ownership of land would create natural monopolies and allow the rich to get richer and force the poor to remain poor. So they believed land, being a natural resource, should not be owned by individuals or companies, but instead, it should belong equally to all members of society. Lizzie Magie was outspoken in her beliefs, and also in her keeping that women were every bit as capable as men in business. She noticed that as she traveled and spoke on Georgism and the dangers of monopolies on land, the concept was difficult for people to grasp. So as a way to better communicate, and as a way of practicing what she preached about women and equality in business, she started her own business as a game designer and developed a board game that she called the Landlord's Game. It was comprised of a square board with properties around the outside. There was go to jail in one corner, sending players to a jail in the opposite corner. There were chance spaces, requiring players to draw chance cards, public works properties, and even a space called luxury, requiring players to pay a tax. The concept was to give players a chance to play the game in two different settings or rules. The first was a monopolist setup, which she called Monopoly, and the second way to play was in the anti-monopolist setup, which she called Prosperity. The goal was to let people play both ways and show how land value tax rules in the Prosperity setup would remedy the problems that the Monopoly setup created. In 1904, she received a patent. She self-published the game and for the next 30 years found some success, especially among Ivy League professors and students in the left-leaning middle class. One of the people who enjoyed the game was a man from Philadelphia named Charles Darrow, who was introduced to the Landlord's Game in 1932. Darrow noticed that it was an educational game meant to support a political initiative which most likely hindered support from larger production houses like Parker Brothers. So he saw an opportunity. In a twist of capitalistic irony, Darrow took a game intended to limit capitalism, and he improved upon it, making it more appealing to a wider audience and distribution partner. He took the Monopoly version from the Landlord's Game and made it the only way to play. He made it cleaner and easier to read, changed many of the property names to align with Atlantic City streets, and had a graphic designer draw images for the cards and properties to make it more visually pleasing. These changes earned a new patent, and this new approach appealed to Parker Brothers, who bought the copyright in 1932. The game went into mass production and took off from there, becoming the gaming icon we know today. While Lizzie Magie died in 1948 without seeing any of the proceeds, she was posthumously credited with the invention of one of the most popular games ever made. Things like this are tough. Lizzie probably should have been compensated, but it's hard to say what would have happened to Lizzie Maggie's game if Darrow hadn't, should we say, capitalized on the concept. I mean, would we even have rock and roll without the Delta blues musician Robert Johnson? This combined effort is a case in America being the land of opportunity. As someone who's shared many memories with loved ones playing the game, what I know is that I'm thankful for what both Lizzie Maggie and Charles Darrow created. And no matter where you stand on the way it all went down, I think we can all agree that this combined effort has allowed us to be together on a rainy afternoon, happily fighting to see who can own it all. Thank you for listening. I realize this podcast won't be successful without your help. So if you'd like to rate it, or better yet, review it, wherever you get your podcasts, that would really help. And if you're on Instagram, go to @mygood3, THREE, to vote each episode up or down. I'm also excited to read more Good 3 stories from listeners. So just go to our website, mygood3.com, and submit a story of your own from the past, present, or future, or all three, and maybe I'll use it in an episode. Thanks again. Here's to hoping My Good 3 can set the stage for your good week.